Hello chums, and welcome to Taming a Monster, the series where I take some of Gran Turismo 7's most ridiculous cars to see if I can tweak them so that a talentless pleb like me can handle them without being killed to death. Like any common ruffian, I'm using a bog-standard PlayStation 5 controller, and I have all driver assists turned off, except for ABS. Let's see what car is trying to murder me today. I'm slightly late to the party with this one. The Citroen DS received a 911 engine, of all things, a few months ago, and I've been waiting for one to show up in the Legend dealer ever since. Now it has, and we have a 500 horsepower front-wheel drive with no downforce. To make things more interesting, that front-wheel drive can trace its roots back to the 1950s. As usual, all upgrades have been applied, including power upgrades, weight reduction, and the body rigidity increase. However, there's no wide body or aero options. All settings are currently default, except for the transmission, which has already been adjusted to suit this car. For the wheels, it doesn't really make any difference, since without a wide body, tyre width remains the same. You can tick the wide offset option, which makes the front track significantly wider than the rear, though this can cause a tiny bit of high-speed instability when compared to the standard offset. I personally struggle to tell the difference though. If you're interested in learning more about aero, downforce, or any other aspect of tuning your car, I have a series called Tuning for Beginners which covers everything from suspension to differential to the transmission. Since the car is French, I took it to a French track. The Citroen 911 is unique among front-wheel drives in that it doesn't actually have much weight over the front axle. As a result, it is completely incapable of putting any power onto the ground. The wheel spin is so bad that it completely cripples whatever performance the car does have. Unsurprisingly, it leans a lot too. For my first changes, I lowered the car, because it'll look cooler. I also increased anti-roll bars and natural frequency to reduce body roll. I also added a heap of ballast weight to the front axle to push the wheels into the ground and improve traction. The improvement to front-end grip as a result of the extra weight made the 911 Merde edition much more reasonable. Wheel spin was still excessive, but manageable enough to get the car around a track. The reduction in the body movement also made the car feel much more composed. Braking was noticeably worse, but not enough to cancel out the added traction. It does feel quite wayward at high speed, thanks to lack of downforce. But honestly, I was expecting it to be much worse, given the problems I've had in the past with zero downforce cars, such as the Superbird, the Jimny, and the Porsche 356. For my next adjustments, I increased compression, which usually makes the car less unsettled by curbs. I decreased camber, which should improve traction when the car is going in a straight line. I added some front toe out to hopefully stabilise the car at high speeds, and I reduced rear toe in with the aim of reducing power understeer. The tweaks made for a subtle improvement, but an improvement either way. The car now felt slightly more stable, but also a bit less of a pig in low speed corners. I was still getting used to the brakes though. For my final changes, I reduced initial torque and braking sensitivity, which will improve agility. I also increased acceleration sensitivity to send more power to the outside wheel, hopefully reducing power understeer. The difference was small once again, but the car felt more willing to turn in. To be honest, the car really didn't throw too many problems at me when compared to the majority of others in this series. Either way, it was now time to try it out on the Nurburgring. Surprisingly, no further changes were needed to the setup. This engine swap confuses me. Can anyone in the comments tell me what the inspiration or precedent behind it actually is? Because I've never heard of a flat 6 engine in an old Citroen. The closest thing I can think of is that later luxury Citroen models had the 3-litre PRV V6 engine, pretty much the same engine that you'll find in the DeLorean or a Volvo 260. Either way, I can't complain because it's something different to the usual 4-cylinder turbo engines we seem to have had quite a few of recently. However, it is worth mentioning that this engine swap is sort of pointless. While the Citroen doesn't feel particularly bad to drive, it's not fast at all. It also suffers with a distinct lack of customization. If the DS had a wide body option for wider tyres and some aero options, this would become much more viable, but as it stands, it's just in a bit of a no man's land. It's capable of winning the Le Mans 700 race, but then what isn't? It's also possibly capable of winning the horrid Tokyo 600 race, but it's not particularly fun in the process. The Citroen is honestly better suited to its standard engine, which when upgraded actually sounds pretty decent too. Either way, there's nothing glaringly wrong with the car or the engine. I just can't see anything good enough about it to really bother with. In the end, the Citroen got a 6 minutes 54. While I could certainly improve it by a few seconds, it's not like it would make much difference to this car's position on the leaderboard, and to be quite honest, the driving experience wasn't exactly inspiring me to try harder. So, that was my attempt to tame a monster. I hope my settings helped, or that you enjoyed this video. Join me next time where I'll be driving something that's almost certainly faster. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're feeling particularly generous, I would greatly appreciate your subscription. Take care now, and ta-ra.